Hi, how you doing? This is Coach Big Pete of Deep Dish Football. First, how do you say, big interview with two of my former guys that I coached with, the Helton brothers, uh, Joe Helton, Scott Helton, alumni of York, both great wrestlers and great football coaches. Learned a lot from these guys too. Made the game fun for all the kids. Again, they coach at Westmont High School, and they both go to Elmhurst College. And I have to say, these guys are both future administrators, no doubt about it. Thank you guys both coming on.
Hey, thanks for having us,
Yeah,
Pete.
okay, thank you. All right, these guys are really special. First question, and these guys, he coaches wrestling. He also coaches wrestling too. First question for you guys: what does wrestling have to do? How does wrestling help a football player?
Well, honestly, Pete, wrestling really builds mental toughness. That's going to be the biggest part about it is that when you go through those tough wrestling workouts, it's going to give you that drive to get better and compete with others.
I mean, another thing that wrestling does is, as a wrestler, you understand leverage really, really well, right? So, a lot of your real good, defensive linemen, even actually a lot of your outside linebackers too, when they have a base in wrestling, it just makes them good on the edge. It helps out, just understanding, different positions, propping elbows, helps kids be more creative, and I like that part of it.
Good, good. Now let me just ask you: what if you were to approach a kid and say, "Hey, come out to wrestling"? What would you say to him?
That no matter what, even if you don't believe that you're good, as long as you're willing to put in that work, it's not just going to help you just in the wrestling room because no matter what, no matter how much time you put in the wrestling room, it's going to make tremendous leaps and bounds for your football career as well.
Scott.
You know what? I think one of the hardest sells in wrestling is, people look at it. It's not really. A lot of people look at it and think it won't be fun, but the best part about wrestling, especially for football, is it doesn't matter what position you play. If you're one of those big linemen up front, or if you're a small, little free safety sitting over the top, the sport has openings for everybody. You have weight classes ranging from 106 pound to 285 pounds. So you're gonna compete against guys your size, and there are so many different levels in high school, from all the way down to freshman to varsity. There's room for everybody in that sport, and it's always going to help you with football on a lot of different levels.
Now, when you talk about wrestling and installing toughness, and you talk about leverage and everything, and you have a football player that says, "You know what? I don't want to wrestle. I want to take it easy for a season and a half or that." What would you say to a kid? Hey, you know what? You should do that second sport, even though it might be basketball or wrestling. What would you say to him?
Are we only talking winter sports? Are we talking all
Oh,
around?
all around sports. Good,
You
yeah, good.
know, the biggest thing when college coaches are looking at anything, if you're looking to make it to that next level, the number one thing that they look for is this kid a multi-sport athlete?
Yes.
They need to see that you are doing extra work in the off season and not just taking your word that you're just lifting. No, they like to see that diversity in your schedule, seeing that you do like other sports and that you're competing all the time.
And just the second sport. The big thing is competition. Any sport you pick is going to offer you something. Whether you're throwing during track, that's building explosion. Whether you're running for track, that's running too. Basketball's athleticism, working on hands too. Any sport has a lot to offer, but as long as you're competing in the off season, that's the biggest thing. You're staying active. When you're lifting, you're staying active too, but you don't get that competition throughout a season, which is, I mean, that's priceless doing that. You don't get that anywhere else.
Now, both you guys, your dad was a former football coach, Helton, at Sandberg High School.
Yes, sir.
What have you learned from your dad? What would you say you've learned from dad from installing it to now you coach, you guys coaching? What did you guys learn from your dad?
You know, there's a lot of technical stuff that I never really thought about before, but when I got to college and everything, he started breaking a lot of things down technically and going up against different fronts and stuff like that. But the number one thing that I learned from him is that one sport is actually never enough. That's why he always pushed us to be in another sport, to have us wrestling in the winter, to have us playing baseball in the summer and spring. And even if we weren't playing baseball in the spring anymore, we were still wrestling. We were finding more competition in lifting.
Yeah, the biggest thing that he showed me was, pushing kids towards other sports. Because the problem is, you have schools all around the country, that coaches want their kids to be like, oh, I want you to specialize in this one sport. And I mean, you wear kids out like that. I think that's the biggest thing my dad ever taught us. Like, you know what? If you got a kid who's a football player, make him wrestle or play basketball during the winter, work something else. Then when spring comes around, see if you can get them into another sport. Just getting kids to compete year-round. So I have to agree on that. I think it's the most important thing I can say.
Now, you guys, you're going to Elmhurst College, and you went to North Central and you transferred to Elmhurst College. You played football. Now you're not playing football anymore. But what would you tell a kid? Hey, listen, don't make fun of a Division III football. These are good programs. What would you say about the Division III experience with yourself?
My biggest thing with Division III football, I didn't get to play too much. I'm going to point that out first.
Yeah.
But you know what? The group of guys that you are around consistently, especially at Elmhurst College, they had a great group of guys. So did North Central. The big thing about it is the team aspect. And no matter what, when you are in the weight room, things as little as that, or even doing homework, they are still pushing you as their teammates. They are making sure that you are doing what you need to do to get your degree and work your butt off to be the best student, athlete, and person you can be.
Scott?
Division III experience. I think the biggest thing, there are a lot of guys who scoff at different levels of competing in college, whichever sports, but the biggest thing is when you get to that college level, not everybody's going to play Division I football. There's going to be a drop-off. Not everyone's going to be able to play Division II. But the thing that you got to look at is, do you still want to play? And if you want to play and you're not, that Division I guy, you don't get that many offers. There are a lot of other options, whether it be a JUCO or a D3, D2, NAI. A lot of options. So just turning your nose up at a level of football kind of restricts what people are going to do. So I'm huge on Division III football, Division II football. At that level, you're just getting guys who are playing because they still love the sport. I love that.
Now, and this is one thing I like to talk about. And when I was coaching with you guys at Westmont, I coached with Scott my first and second year, and a little bit into my third year. Then he had to go to Canada, and he came in the last year. And but they're now both coaching at Westmont. And what I really like about both these guys is that they have a great sense of humor. They inject a livelihood with the kids. They're not hard asses on the kids. They have the kids laughing, and that taught me a lot. And the kids really enjoyed it. Our lineman was called the Dirty Bastards. Simple as that. Dirty Bastards. Colton Blaine, John, all of them. Shout out to you, Louis Prado, all of them. Matt Macy, Kyle Kraft. Shout out to the Dirty Bastards. But these guys literally injected humor and got these kids laughing, got them smiling, got them wanting to be a lineman. What do you guys think about that?
You know what? If you're not having fun, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part about it for me. That's why, no matter what, on the football field, on the wrestling mat, you have to have that camaraderie, even with your kids if you're a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have that personal connection, so then you're able to make jokes with them. You're able to lighten the mood in such a hard time.
Yeah, and again, football, any sport, when it comes down to it, it's not life or death. It's a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're not having fun, then what are you out there for?
Yeah.
Football, okay, when you look back at it, I know when we played in high school, you had those two-a-days, and those were never fun. But that's the whole point of the sport. You're making friends, you're on a team, you're having a lot of fun. And as long as you can get the kids to, enjoy the hard stuff. Like, when we used to have the kids run the mile. You try to get a bunch of linemen to run a mile in time, that's never fun. But
no.
At the end of the mile, within 2-3 minutes, we got kids laughing and joking
which
about how
is good.
bad it was.
Which is good. That's good, yeah.
That camaraderie, it kind of eases how bad it was at times. It was fun, though.
Now, I want to ask, this one's for Scott because Joe wasn't there at the time. We visited Rochester, and we went to see the Rochester coaches, and we saw Derrick Nelson, offensive line coach.
Yeah.
How effing good is he?
I'll be honest, I think my favorite part about him was he had such high-level stuff, but he broke it down to paint by numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Even just a short step to the crotch, get that inside. He had so much stuff that he stressed that, I mean, occasionally as a line coach, you kind of overlook. You're like, gosh, I mean, isn't it just natural to step here? But he made me feel like I didn't know anything.
He was awesome.
Great guy.
Huge
yeah.
shout out to the Rochester
Yeah.
coaching staff, especially Derrick Leonard. Now let me ask you guys a question. What is it like coaching with the legendary father of the 5 wide, a.k.a. Otto Zeeman?
You know, with Otto, our family's known him for years, and you know what? He was such a technically sound coach that it looked crazy whenever you looked at anything that he drew up for you. But when it actually broke it down and he actually communicated what he wanted from it, it just made sense, and it just really opened my eyes to what else you could do when it comes to offense or defense.
Scott, I honestly about the same. That was a good answer. Like, he just, whenever, and you had outside people look at stuff like, God, what is this? And I mean, every piece just kind of falls into place with a lot of the stuff he runs. I mean, I personally learned a lot from him as a coach, and I mean, guy's a living legend, right? I mean, it was fun coaching with him. He's a great guy too. Good people.
Now, what do you guys think about the Interstate 8 conference? Coaching in the Interstate 8 conference.
I mean, multiple sports. I'll take this one first for the first time. I mean, multiple sports. I mean, been coaching football at Westmont for a while, so been in the I-8 for a while, and I mean, coached wrestling for a few years. I mean, all around, the I-8's tough. Like,
Very much.
and I mean, we came from bigger schools, and I'll be honest, I'll be the guy to say it. When we were coming up through high school, when you look at smaller schools, you're like, you're small schools. But after actually coaching in the Interstate 8, I'll tell you what, some really good small school football out there. And I mean,
I truly agree.
Yeah.
I mean, even when people look at the smaller schools in the I-8, people think, oh, it's just the small part. But you know what? Like Scott had said, it's still tough.
Yeah.
And, well, it's not just with football, but I like to look at it from a wrestling perspective that no matter what team you're going up against, they are still going to have those 2 or 3 kids that are just absolute buzzsaws.
Yeah.
That it's basically a minimum of 2 kids that are going to be tough from each lineup, and that's what's awesome about it.
Right. Awesome. So, what's your favorite story? What's been your favorite story coaching so far? Football. What is one of your funniest stories that you have to say?
Football?
Yeah.
Come back, man. Listen, I got to think about this for a while. We've had some fun ones.
Fun stories from coaching football. You know what? I personally, it's not just one story that really has made it for football for me, but just hearing on random days that, you know, I'm down and out. I'm having a hard day with school and whatnot, but coming out to practice and just hearing in the distance, walking from the school and flailing his arms is a loud and lovely wee from this guy himself. Always getting people into the mood, and he always made me excited to be
He's
out
a
there.
kiss ass.
Well, my favorite story was a coach who will go unnamed in this story. Having a real slow day, the fresh soft lineman. I think it was an offensive day, and it was one of those like middle of the week. Kids just kind of 2-3 years ago. Kids just kind of moving slow, just we weren't looking as good as we usually did that day. So we had a coach on staff who kind of wanted to instill some discipline and some work ethic in some kids. So tried to make them run bleachers. We got about 3/4 to the way to the bleachers before it was brought to his attention that our kids were all wearing metal-tipped cleats. And that might not go real well on metal bleachers.
I was a dumbass. Yes, I was a dumbass.
You live and you learn, man.
All right. Thanks again to these little knuckleheads. Helton boys, thank you so much. This is DeepDishFootball.com, and thanks for the exclusive. Again, watch out for both these guys. About 10 years, they're going to be principals.